So I went to go see World War Z. It stars Brad Pitt and it's directed by a man named Marc Forster. He's the guy who did Quantum of Solace and one of my favorite Will Ferrell movies, Stranger Than Fiction. Unfortunately, all I got out of this movie was a poster. Wait, that's more than I normally get, never mind. So you remember how in Cloverfield it wasn't really a giant monster movie, turns out? It was more a disaster movie where the disaster just happened to be a giant monster. Same sort of thing happens here. It's not really a zombie movie, it's more one of those outbreak movies where they have to go hunt down patient zero, except in this case it just happens to be an outbreak of zombies. So basically Brad Pitt's character is a former UN investigator. He gets sort of suckered back in because the military comes and saves him from the zombie outbreak, and then they basically hold his family hostage in order to force him to hunt down patient zero. And really that's it. That's the movie. As far as I see it, there's two really big problems here. One is the script. It's unfortunate since the movie is based on, incredibly loosely, the best-selling novel by Max Brooks. So they took that sort of general kernel of an idea, and then they had the first script done by J. Michael Straczynski, who's the creator and writer of almost all the episodes of one of my favorite sci-fi TV shows ever, Babylon 5. He also won a BAFTA for Changeling. Of course, he did also do the screenplay for Ninja Assassin, so grain of salt, I suppose. But then it went into rewrites with a guy named Matthew Carnahan, I believe, and he's the guy who wrote The Kingdom, so not terrible, not fantastic, but decent screenwriter. And then there's 2 or 3 other people attached as screenwriters to this film. So you can see the problem. There was at least another rewrite after that initial rewrite, possibly, probably more. And a lot of times when you do that many rewrites in a film, it just gets sort of blanded out into nothing, and that's the case here. There's just nothing to really engage you. They sort of start to bring up kind of interesting plot bits. Like the North Koreans are supposedly doing fantastically because the North Koreans had everyone pull out all their teeth, in the first 24 hours. So no teeth, no zombie bites, no zombie bites, no zombies, right? That's kind of neat. It would have been interesting to see how different countries sort of dealt with things, but no, we sort of just slide on past without ever really impacting things or ever really getting a feel for anything to feel an impact for things that are happening on the screen. It's just bland, and things happen, but we don't really care for the most part, and things sort of fly by. They have he sort of adopts a kid in one area, and that just sort of disappears by the end. We don't really see what happens to him. Plot threads are sort of brought up and sort of they disappear into the ether. It's just not a very impressive script, which is unfortunate. And then the other big problem here, to be honest, is they tried to make a PG-13 zombie movie where it's supposed to be, zombies are supposed to actually be a threat and something to scare us. And they try and do scary things here. They really do. They try and have a sense of tension, but it really ends up being more comedic, unfortunately, than it does threatening or tense. The zombies, they don't ever really attack people. I mean, they attack people and they do some interesting things, but they just bite you once and they run off, and then you convulse on the ground and you get up and you're a zombie. But they don't do any of the normal zombie things. They don't eat people. They're not decaying. They sort of mummify a little bit, but that's about it. They don't look really scary. They don't do anything really scary. They make weird sounds for some reason that's never really explained in the movie. Not that it's supposed to, I suppose, but they also do the thing that really ends up being more funny than anything else is they sort of make over-exaggerated biting motions at people. When they're running at you, they're doing like rah, 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 rah. It just looks hysterical. It really does. It's nothing. Lots of laughter in my screening, actually, and it's just they're just not scary, and that's the like cardinal sin for a zombie movie that's trying for that sort of thing. It just, they were more threatening and scary in Shaun of the Dead than they were here in World War Z. And I think a lot of that is because it went for a PG-13 rating instead of the hard R. Because, you could do some really neat, gruesome stuff and really have us get scared from the zombies first. But instead, they at one point they tried to do the 28 days later thing with the spread of the zombies through the crowd, since people get infected really quickly. They get infected in like 10 seconds, 12 seconds, somewhere like that. And they try, but it just loses a lot of its oomph, and it's just not a very impressive movie, which is a shame. It could have been really fun. A good big budget zombie movie could have been fantastic had it had a good script and had it had actually scary zombies. Yeah, that's more or less it right there. These are the two reasons why you probably shouldn't see this movie, or if you do see it, don't spend much money for it. Go to a matinee. If you want to see a really good zombie story, like really, really solidly good zombie film, or zombie story anyway, go play the new PS3 game, The Last of Us. That game is bloody fantastic. If you don't have a PS3, you can find like 6-hour-long Let's Plays of the thing. That's just taking out a lot of the little gamey combat scenes and just dealing with most of the story bits. Watch that. That fantastic character development, great voice acting, pretty decent visuals for a video game. It's just leagues ahead of anything that you'll see in World War Z. It's just, World War Z is just, it's not bad, mind you. Brad Pitt does a good job acting. Seriously, when Brad Pitt decides to act, he can bloody act. So he does a good job, and really everything focuses on him. Everyone else is kind of incidental, really more cameos than anything else. So he does a good job. The director does a solid job. I mean, it looks good. It's directed pretty decently, although maybe he just doesn't have very much of a handle on how to make zombies scary. But visually, everything works. There's no gigantic continuity errors. There's no weird edits. There's nothing like that. But yeah, just don't waste your money on this movie. It's just not that good. See you later, guys.